Hey friends, Charlie B here. I'm going to talk to you on the subject today of Charlie. I just don't understand the Bible, and there's a lot of people that don't. They don't understand much about it. Some people, because written in the King James version of the Bible, written in Elizabethan English, sometimes makes it hard to understand. And then you have some people that say, well, we only read the King James version only, and then some people, they read an Amplified, or some people read a New King James, or some people read an Expositors, and some people read all these different translations, and it kind of just leaves a lot of people lost in what should I be reading. Well, I want to touch on the first thing that we talked about that I want to really get out there. In order to understand the scriptures, you have to understand where the scriptures come from. And that goes all the way back to a man that they called Abraham. And Abraham is not a difficult subject, but he is the father of Isaac. And Isaac is the father of Jacob. And Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel. You see, when Abraham had come out of the land that he was in, he had came out and God had spoke to him and said, go to a land that I promise you, flowing with milk and honey. It's a good land. It's a good place to go. And Abraham made some different trips in there because of different famines going on in the land and stuff like that. But in all of that, God had made him a promise. And the promise was that he would have a child. And on up in his years, thinking he was around 99, and I think his wife was around 90, Sarah. I'd have to go back. It's been a little bit since I studied that, but I'd have to go back. But the whole point is they were stricken in years. They shouldn't have been able to have children. And she ended up bearing him a son, and they called his name Isaac. It was a miracle child. It was a promised child. And so Abraham, being led of God, took his only son Isaac up the mountain and was going to sacrifice him to God. About that time, Isaac was probably anywhere between 30 years old and 50, somewhere probably around that age. But the whole point of the matter is he trusted his father so much that he walked the mountain with him. When he said, Father, what are we going to use for the sacrifice? Abraham never said, it's going to be you, son. But he said God would provide. And he took his son all the way up the mountain and laid him on pretty much at that age, he probably laid himself up on the altar. His father bound him up and laid him up there. And at that point in time, he was fixing to raise the knife to kill the sacrifice, and there was a ram in the bush. And this is all a representation of what Jesus Christ had did at the cross. So Isaac had Jacob, and Jacob had seen the goodness of God through Isaac, his father. Isaac had seen the goodness of God through Abraham, his father. And when Isaac had Jacob, Jacob went through some things. I'm not going to get real in depth to it, but he went to a different land because of some troubles with his brother. And it was some trickery going on, just like in modern day life. These stories in the Bible can be compared to everything that you go through in life. So there was some trickery going on, and through it all, he ends up wrestling with an angel, and he wouldn't let the angel go. And the angel smote him on his hip, and he began to have a new walk, symbolizing that when we meet Christ, we have a new walk. God changes us. So he leaves there, and the first thing he does when he leaves there is to go meet his brother. He was on his way back home. And throughout all of this, his brother forgave him for everything that he had done. And he is able to see his father before his father passed. And the brothers laid their father down together in the same place that Abraham was laid down. Come to be, it was the same place that Isaac would be laid down, and the same place that Jacob would be laid down. This is from Jacob leaves the 12 tribes of Israel. See, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. And after this, the brothers, the sons of Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes of Jacob, had sold their brother into slavery, the next to last, because then there was another born before that, but he was young. They sold their brother into slavery, into Egypt. And when famine came in the land, and they needed a place to eat, it was provided them a place to eat in Egypt. And I bring that up to bring this up. Abraham had made an offering to God sometime way before all of this. And because of the offering, because of the lack of faith at the time, I would say that the offering, God had came to Abraham and said, for 400 years your people will be in bondage. When Jacob and them went to the land, Jacob and his 12 sons had went to Egypt. It was on good terms. But when they left, 400 years later, as the prophecy had stated, things were a little bit different. They were sent out by a person named Moses that came before Pharaoh. And we know the plagues. We know the story of Moses. And I don't want to get too deep into that. But eventually, after they was led out into the wilderness for 40 years, it was just a 3-day journey, but for 40 years, to kill off a generation that did not want to serve God, and to bring in a generation that did want to serve God. And there's symbolism to that. The symbolism is all of your life that you're on this earth. Before you meet Jesus Christ, you're struggling and you're wandering through the wilderness. And in that wilderness, you'll find God. You'll learn to trust in God. You'll see that God is good. And through His Son, Jesus Christ, you will come into the land of Canaan with no problems and no worries, except that be that is already pertaining to life. We go on this to tell you that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And in order to understand the scriptures, these things of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 tribes of Israel have to be understood. Because out of one of those tribes, the tribe of Judah, came forth a king. And the scriptures, all the way from the beginning, from Genesis all the way to Malachi, point to this man named Jesus, Yeshua, the Son of God. He was sacrificed on the cross for the remission of sins. And as you understand that, you understand this, that if you accept that today, you begin to let this word grow in your heart, you'll see a change like you've never seen before. I leave this with you. This is a good opportunity for you to apply this, and you'll learn the Bible from it. And you will understand the Bible by understanding these things. I'm going to leave that with you. Check out my website, straightcrookedliving.com. I'm the working man's preacher. I send out love to every single one of y'all. And you know where I'm headed. Don't really want to, but I got it. Y'all have a good day. Peace.